Hey everybody, it's Dan here, and 7 Days to Die Alpha 19 is finally here, and along with it comes a new critical system that replaces the old wellness system. So in this video, we'll be taking a look at the critical system and the status effects that come with it in 7 Days to Die Alpha 19. So before we get too into this, I just wanted to say that Alpha 19 just came out, so obviously things could change. But that being said, no longer do you have to worry about getting stunned or bleeding on the first time you get hit by a zombie, because according to the Fun Pimps, and this comes directly from the Alpha 19 Patch Notes, which I'll leave a link to in the description below, when you are at full health, a zombie can never cause a critical on the first hit, so we don't want to hear about the unfair crits. Once you take a few hits or get reckless in close combat, the chances increase. Being at low health also increases the chance of receiving a critical. So I'm at full health, and I have our lovely assistant Arlene here to help us test what the Fun Pimp said in the Alpha 19 Patch Notes. So if we go ahead and unlock her, we'll let her hit us a couple times. Let's see what status effect she gives us. Okay, there we go. We'll pause her again. So now if we hit tab, go over here and click, you'll see in the bottom left here too, just like in Alpha 18, it's blacked out. But unlike Alpha 18, you have an indicator above your stamina and your health bar. And this is going to show you what status effect you have. So right now I'm suffering from a concussion. If you've been playing 7 Days to Die for a while, status effects and debuffs are really nothing new to you. But in this video, the specific debuffs we'll be talking about are abrasions, sprained and broken legs and arms, fatigue, deep lacerations, concussions, and infections. Before we get into each status effect individually, there's a few things that apply to all of them. Each status effect will lower your max HP. Now really this just varies depending on which status effect you have. Each one has a timer, and the timer counts down and can be extended but up to a certain point. Now I know that sounds confusing, but I'll go into that a little bit later in the video. And each one has a specific item or items that can treat them. So it took a couple tries here, but I got Arlene to give me some abrasions. Abrasions are the first one we're going to go into. They're really like the first step, letting you know, hey, be more careful. The zombies have hit you a couple times now, so you're more prone to getting other status effects. I just wanted to note that obviously at the beginning of the video where you saw, it won't always be the first status effect you get. Once again, if we go to our status effect screen by clicking over here, you'll see that right now the abrasions are lowering our max health by 5.7 points, and we have 27 minutes left on the timer. Now, actually, abrasions start out at 6.3 points at 30 minutes, and as the timer clocks down, so does the effects on your health. This pretty much works that way with all the status effects. One other thing I wanted to mention about abrasions is sometimes when a zombie hits you, they will only queue up a 10-minute timer. But if we look here, you'll see that I have a healing speed of 100% right now, and I can increase my healing speed with aloe cream, first aid bandages, or first aid kits. First aid kits will increase at 400%, bandages 300%, and aloe cream 200%. So this makes it pretty easy to do some math. If you take your timer and you just divide it by the first number, that'll be what it reduces your timer to. So if I were to use the aloe cream, I would divide 6 by 2. It should reduce it to 3 minutes. And for that first aid kit, I would divide 6 by 4. I think that's 1.5. I'm not entirely sure, but we'll use that right now. And unfortunately too, this stops at 400%. So if I try to stack the first aid bandage, you'll see it has absolutely no effect. Same thing with the aloe cream. It won't affect your timer at all. Moving on to some familiar status effects, we have the Sprains and Breaks. So if we go to our status effect menu again, you'll see that each one of them is lowering our max health by 27.5 and 27.9. Now actually these start out at the 10-minute timer at 30 max health being lowered each. So you'll see at the bottom I am down to 40 max health, which is not good. Now from what I've seen with the sprains, there really isn't any cure to them other than the health bar, which will actually bring up your natural critical healing. So if we use that right now, you'll see that it cuts each one of those in half. So after you sprain your leg or arm, you're more likely to break your leg or arm. So after you sprain your arm, if you were to keep getting hit, you might break it. And after you sprain your leg, if you were to take another big fall or keep getting hit, you might break it. So I'll try to show you right now. Hopefully I break my leg and don't die. So I did. I broke my leg there and I didn't die. And here's one other cool little trick. You can see that right now I have both a broken arm and a broken leg. If I use a cast, it will cut it down to 25 minutes. And if I use a splint, it will cut it down to 45 minutes. But a cool little trick, if you use one, it will actually treat both of them. One thing that I almost forgot to mention is at the start of the 2-hour timer for the broken arm and leg, it will lower your max health by 25 points, which actually brings me to my next point. If I try to sprint around on a broken leg and jump around, you'll see the little indicator will start flashing and the timer will actually go up. Let's see if we can get it to go up. You'll also notice I'm losing health. Not only am I slower, but I'm losing health too. And the same will work if I try to power swing my baseball bat. I'm out of stamina right now. You'll see the little indicator toggle. So anytime you see that indicator toggle, it means that you're doing something that is making the timer count up. It's no longer counting down, it's counting up. And the same works with pretty much all the injuries. If you get hit while you have a concussion, that's going to add time to the concussion. I actually think this is a pretty cool little addition. It adds some realism to the game. You're not going to be jumping around on a sprained ankle and stuff. But what do you guys think? Next, we move on to a really basic status effect, and that's being fatigued. When you're fatigued, you take 10% more damage from attacks, and your max health is lowered by 20 points at the start of the 2-hour timer. Now, if you eat vitamins, this actually instantly cures it. That's a pretty cool little thing. I'm not going to do that right now just because I want to show you guys the indicator toggle when I have Arlene here hit me. So I got to be really careful. I take 10% more damage, don't forget. As you can see, it's toggling right now. It actually just popped all the way back up to 2 hours and gave me abrasions too. It actually won't go past the 2-hour mark. So the next two status effects kind of go hand in hand, and they are bleeding and deep lacerations. So I'm going to trigger that right now. And bleeding pretty much works the same way. Over 20 seconds, you lose a little bit of health, but now you can stop bleeding with sewing kits. And now you also have a chance to get deep lacerations when you're bleeding. And the deep lacerations will lower your max health by 25 points at the start of a 2-hour timer, and they will make your critical resistance against bleeding 15% worse. And they're treated with either a first aid kit or a sewing kit. So if I use a sewing kit right now, it's not going to heal me at all, but it will, as you see, fill that back up for me. Once again, I'm going to activate this status effect on screen for you guys, just to show you that being stunned and getting a concussion kind of go hand in hand. Being stunned pretty much works the same way. For 4 seconds, your screen gets all blurry. You can't really do much, but now you have a chance to get a concussion. So as you can see, now I have a concussion. What the concussion will do, let's get this out of the way, will lower your max health by 25 points, and all your attributes are lowered by 1 point. And this can be instantly cured with painkillers. Finally, we're on to infections. Now, infections are really caused by being hit by anything. And once you have an infection, you'll see I have a 7.2% infection right now. If I get hit more, it can actually make it increase faster. It will slowly increase until I actually do something to treat it. And you treat them by taking antibiotics, by taking the honey, or by taking the herbal antibiotics. Well, let's get Arlene to attack me here. Let's see if I can get it to go up a little bit. As you can see, once again, that it's toggling there. It's not really going up. So it didn't really go up, but believe me, she did have an effect on it. Now, according to the Fun Pimps, they say the infection is pretty much harmless up until 5%, and then you have to start worrying. In my research, I didn't actually find anything until 14%. Now, I'm not going to cheat all the way up to 100% for you guys, because I don't want to type buff trigger infection 100 times. But I will show these screenshots. I have this one screenshot from roughly 14%, and it reduced my stamina regeneration by 25. And then I have this other screenshot that's at roughly 57% infection, and it brings down my stamina regeneration by 35%, -1 to all my attributes. And you guessed it, at 100% is a grueling, lonely death. One last thing that I thought was worth mentioning, if you look underneath the armor stats, you'll see they now have an armor critical resistance. So this steel chest armor has a 7% armor critical resistance. This is pretty much to any critical. I noticed that the heavy armor generally has a better critical resistance. When I was doing my research, I initially thought that the higher the tier meant the higher the resistance, but that's not always the case. As you'll see with this military vest, this is level 2 and it has a 6%, and this is level 6 and it has a 5%. So if anybody has any better insight than me, it's welcomed. So I think that pretty much covers everything. Obviously, Alpha 19 just came out, so if I missed anything, let me know in the comment section below. If you guys found the video informative, make sure to click that like button. Every like helps. Subscribe and click the bell for new 7 Days to Die content 2 times a week. Thank you again so much for watching. Peace.